We have all sat in that chair, praying the person with scissors knows the difference between a trim and a buzz cut. But today, we are flipping the mirror to expose the most unhinged and hilarious complaints ever thrown at hairdressers. From clients who see no difference between a salon and a dog groomer, to those who get angry when their hair has the audacity to grow back, these stories will make you question the sanity of the general public. Here are 55 ridiculous complaints about hairdressers and barbers. 1. A guy sat down in the barber chair and immediately unwrapped a foil-wrapped burrito. When the barber politely asked him not to eat while getting a haircut, the guy got offended. He claimed he was multitasking and that the barber was trying to starve him. Imagine trying to cut a fade while a guy is chewing and jaw-popping right in front of your face. He left a review saying the shop had terrible hospitality. Since when did a local barbershop become a cafeteria? 2. A woman walked into a high-end human hair salon and demanded a trim for her golden retriever. When the receptionist politely explained that they are licensed for people, not poodles, the woman filed a formal complaint with the Better Business Bureau for lack of inclusivity. She argued that hair is hair and money is money. Have you ever seen someone so entitled they cannot distinguish between a beauty salon and a vet clinic? 3. Most of us hate awkward small talk, but one customer actually left a bad review because his barber was too quiet. The barber explained he was simply focusing on the fade to make sure it was perfect. The client did not care about the quality, he just felt ignored because they did not chat about sports or the weather. Imagine getting mad at a guy for paying attention while holding sharp scissors next to your ears. Do you want a new best friend, or do you want to keep your earlobes attached? 4. A man refused to take off his glasses during his haircut because he said he wanted to watch the process. The barber tried to work around them, but it is physically impossible to trim around the ears when there is plastic in the way. The result was little tufts of long hair left right above his ears. He then complained that the barber missed a spot. Unless you want the barber to cut your expensive frames in half, take the glasses off. 5. Precision is important, but one client in New York brought a literal tape measure to his appointment. After the cut, he measured his bangs and claimed the left side was 1/16 of an inch shorter than the right. He refused to pay until the barber made the right side match, which obviously meant cutting it shorter, which then made the left side look long again. It turned into a Zeno's paradox of haircutting. How much perfection do you really need? Is anyone walking around with a caliper measuring your bangs on the street? 6. An elderly gentleman screamed at the receptionist because the haircut was $25. He kept shouting that he used to get a shave and a cut for $2 back in 1975. The poor girl tried to explain that rent, electricity, and inflation exist, but he accused them of price gouging senior citizens. He eventually threw a $5 bill on the counter, said, "Keep the change," like he was being generous, and walked out. It is wild how some people think businesses should operate on a pricing model from 50 years ago just to suit their nostalgia. 7. There is a special place in retail hell for the client who sat in the chair, said, "Do whatever you want," and then had a meltdown when the stylist did exactly that. She told the hairdresser she wanted a change and gave full creative freedom. The moment the scissors touched her hair, she burst into tears saying she was hoping the stylist would instinctively know she actually just wanted a trim. Apparently, the cosmetology license exam was supposed to include a module on telepathy and mind reading. 8. A luxury salon faced the wrath of a woman who was appalled that she was charged for the extra long hair service. She argued that even though her hair went down to her knees, she should be charged the same price as someone with a pixie cut because she only has one head. She claimed it was discrimination against people with good genetics. By her logic, painting a small shed and painting a 3-story mansion should cost the same because they are both technically just buildings. 9. One guy walked in wearing a beanie in the middle of summer because he tried to cut his own hair after watching a single YouTube video. He completely butchered it, leaving huge bald spots, but still asked the barber to fix it without losing any length. The barber worked a miracle and gave him a clean buzz cut to hide the damage. Then, the guy left a bad review complaining it was too short. "Buddy, you destroyed your hair in your bathroom. The barber just cleaned up the crime scene. 10. One guy showed up 45 minutes late to a 30-minute appointment slot. He walked in holding a coffee he had clearly just waited in line for. When the barber told him he lost his spot, the guy went crazy saying, "The customer is always right." He claimed that since the shop was still open, they were legally obligated to serve him. Time is money, my friend, and you spent yours on a latte instead of being punctual. 11. A woman with pitch black hair booked an appointment to transform into a platinum blonde in just one session. The catch? She absolutely refused to let the stylist use any bleach because she wanted to keep the process all natural and toxin-free. When the hairdresser patiently explained that you simply cannot lift dark pigment with good vibes and organic lemon juice, the woman left a nasty review calling the staff uneducated. She essentially wanted a chemical miracle without the actual chemicals. Does she think hair dye is made of fairy dust? 12. We have all seen people glued to their phones, but one guy took a full FaceTime call during his entire haircut. He was nodding, laughing, and moving his head around like a bobblehead doll on a dashboard. The barber tried to hold his head steady, but the guy kept swatting his hand away like a fly. When the fade came out slightly uneven, he demanded a full refund for shaky hands. If you cannot sit still for 20 minutes, maybe you should just buy a hat. Who actually thinks it is okay to have a video conference while someone is holding scissors to their head? 13. A frantic bride rushed into a salon on a Saturday morning demanding a full color correction because she had box-dyed her hair bright orange the night before to save money. The real problem was that her wedding ceremony started in 45 minutes. When the stylist said it was physically impossible to fix that chemical disaster in under an hour, the bride screamed that the stylist was ruining her special day. Lady, you ruined your day when you bought $3 hair dye at a drugstore at midnight. 14. One barber had a client bring in a picture of a spiky anime character. He wanted those massive spikes that stand straight up. The barber used a whole tub of gel and a ton of hairspray to make it happen, and it actually looked decent. The next day, the guy came back angry because his hair fell flat after he took a shower. He genuinely thought the haircut would make his hair defy gravity permanently without any product. Apparently, he thought the barber gave him superpowers along with the fade. Do people not understand how gravity works? 15. There is always that one guy who thinks he deserves a discount because he is bald on top. He argued that since the barber only had to cut the sides, he should only pay 50% of the price. The barber explained that blending the sides into a bald scalp actually takes more skill and time than a regular cut to make it look clean and not like a mushroom. It is like asking a mechanic for a discount because your car is missing a door. You are paying for the expertise, not the weight of the hair on the floor. 16. A woman filed a formal complaint against a salon because her expensive blowout did not last a full week. She admitted she went to the gym every day, sweat profusely, and took hot showers without a shower cap. She accused the stylist of using weak hairspray and demanded a free redo. How do people walk through life thinking a hairstyle is made of concrete? Do you honestly expect your hair to survive a triathlon just because you paid for it? Sweat is wet, and wet hair curls. It is not rocket science. 17. A stylist got screamed at because the water at the shampoo bowl was supposedly freezing. The stylist checked the temperature and it was steaming hot. She turned it up, and the client said it was still cold. She turned it up until it was literally scalding, close to boiling point, and the client finally said, "That is better." Some people must have skin made of leather because normal human beings would have been in the burn unit. Are these people trying to wash their hair or cook themselves for dinner? 18. One client was furious that the salon refused to wax her eyebrows. The reason was that she had just had a chemical peel and her skin was basically raw. The esthetician explained that waxing would literally rip her skin off along with the hair. The client wrote a review saying the staff was lazy and did not want her money. They were actually saving her from looking like a horror movie victim, but sure, go ahead and complain about them saving your face. Imagine suing someone because they refuse to disfigure you. 19. A young woman came in for breakup bangs, which is almost always a terrible idea fueled by tears. The stylist gently asked if she was sure, and the girl insisted she needed a change. The moment the scissors snipped, she started sobbing uncontrollably in the chair. She later complained to the manager that the stylist should have physically stopped her from making a bad decision. Is it really the hairdresser's job to be your emotional bodyguard? You asked for a cut, not an intervention. 20. Speed is not always a good thing. One businessman sat down for a detailed fade and announced he had a meeting in 12 minutes. When the barber said that was impossible, the guy demanded he just cut faster. He ended up leaving with a half-finished head because his alarm went off, and then he left a 1-star review calling the barber slow. Do you want a good haircut, or do you want to look like you lost a fight with a lawnmower? 21. A man actually called the barbershop 3 weeks after his appointment to complain that his hair was growing back. He was genuinely under the impression that a good haircut stops the biological process of hair growth for at least a few months. He accused the barber of using a growth stimulant shampoo, so he would have to come back sooner and spend more money. I have heard of planned obsolescence in iPhones, but accusing a barber of hacking your DNA to make hair grow is a whole new level of conspiracy theory. 22. One stylist had a client who came in with hair that had not been washed in 6 weeks. It was matted, oily, and actually smelled bad. When the stylist insisted on washing it before cutting, the client got offended and threatened to leave a bad review for hidden fees and shaming her natural oils. There is a fine line between natural hair care and a biohazard. Would you be brave enough to touch a stranger's unwashed hair, or would you run for the hills? 23. A man fell asleep in the chair, which happens, but he started snoring loud enough to shake the windows. The barber gently woke him up to turn his head for the trimmer. The guy got furious, claiming the barber ruined his REM cycle and that he comes to the shop specifically to nap away from his noisy kids. He actually treated the barber chair like a rented hotel room and got mad when the staff expected him to actually participate in getting a haircut. If you need sleep that badly, go to a mattress store. 24. A client brought in a photo of Kim Kardashian and asked for her exact hair texture and volume. The stylist politely explained that the photo was mostly a high-quality wig and extensions. The client accused the stylist of lying because she was jealous and refused to believe that celebrities do not naturally wake up with 3 pounds of perfect hair. She left a 1-star review saying the stylist lacked vision. It is hard to give someone a haircut when what they actually want is a purchase from a wig shop. 25. A stylist shared a nightmare interaction where a mother brought in her teenage son for a trim. She instructed the hairdresser to cut about 3 inches off because it was getting in his eyes. Halfway through the cut, the mother started screaming that it was too short. She then demanded the stylist put the hair back on. Not glue it, not extensions. She wanted the stylist to physically reverse time and reattach the severed follicles. When explained that biology does not work that way, she threatened to sue for emotional distress and property damage. 26. There is nothing worse than a backseat driver, except maybe a backseat stylist. A woman brought her friend to the appointment, and the friend stood 2 feet away the entire time, critiquing every snip. She kept saying, "Missed a spot," or "blend that better," while the stylist was still working. The stylist finally handed the scissors to the friend and said, "Be my guest." The client then complained about the stylist's attitude problem. If you bring a supervisor to your haircut, do you deserve to get kicked out? 27. A customer threw a fit at the front desk because a bottle of professional shampoo cost $25. He started shouting that he can get a bottle the size of a milk jug at the grocery store for $3. The receptionist tried to explain the difference in ingredients, but he insisted they were just putting fancy labels on dish soap. If you think all soap is the same, why are you paying $50 for a haircut instead of doing it yourself with hedge trimmers? 28. A salon in Texas received a scathing email from a woman who demanded a refund because her appointment ended 20 minutes early. She admitted the color was perfect and the style was exactly what she wanted, but she felt cheated because she did not get to sit in the chair for the full blocked-out hour. She essentially argued that she paid for suffering and boredom, not efficiency. Next time, maybe the stylist should just stand there, holding a blow-dryer off switch for 15 minutes to give her the full money's worth. 29. A barber had to have an awkward conversation with a man who claimed his sideburns were uneven. The barber measured them, and they were perfectly equal in length from the top of the head. The problem? One of the client's ears was physically lower than the other. The client refused to believe his own anatomy was the issue and insisted the barber slanted the floor. Have you ever looked in the mirror and realized your face is crooked, or would you just blame the barber? 30. A blonde woman came back to the salon a week after her appointment with green hair. She demanded a refund, claiming the expensive dye was defective. After some questioning, she admitted she went swimming in a highly chlorinated public pool every single day and never washed her hair afterwards. She thought permanent color meant it was bulletproof against chemicals. She basically soaked her hair in bleach water and blamed the salon for the science experiment on her head. 31. A woman demanded a full refund 2 days after her appointment, not because the cut was technically bad, but because nobody at her office complimented her. She genuinely argued that if the haircut was actually good, at least 3 people would have commented on it by noon on Monday. The stylist tried to explain that she provides professional haircuts, not popularity, but the woman insisted the service was defective if it did not generate immediate applause. Do you cut your hair for yourself? Or are you just desperate for attention from coworkers who do not even like you? 32. One customer left a scathing review because he got itchy hair clippings on his neck during the haircut. He expected the barber to catch every single falling strand before it touched his cape. He claimed it was unhygienic and unprofessional to let gravity do its job. The barber offered to blow it off with the dryer or use talcum powder, but the guy acted like he was covered in toxic waste. If you are that afraid of loose hair, maybe you should not go to a place where people cut hair for a living. 33. A man stormed into a barbershop demanding a refund for a cut he got 3 weeks prior, claiming the barber had pushed his hairline back. The barber pulled up the security footage and photos from the previous visit to show the man that his hairline had actually retreated on its own accord years ago. The customer doubled down, insisting the barber used a special razor that accelerates male pattern baldness. It is easier to blame the guy with the clippers than it is to accept that nature and age are coming for us all. 34. A man went in for a buzz cut and immediately freaked out when he looked in the mirror. He started yelling that the barber had dyed his hair gray without asking. The barber had to explain that the gray roots were always there. They were just covered by the longer dark hair on top. The man refused to accept that he was aging and insisted the clippers were coated in gray paint to sabotage him. Would you accept the truth? Or would you accuse a barber of vandalism just to protect your fragile ego? 35. One barber in Chicago was left speechless after a 1-star review from a man who brought in a picture of Ryan Reynolds. The haircut was technically perfect, matching the photo exactly, but the client was furious. Why? Because when he looked in the mirror, he still had his own face. He genuinely believed the $30 haircut included a full facial reconstruction and Hollywood charisma transplant. Sorry, buddy, scissors can trim your split ends, but they cannot fix your genetics or your delusions of grandeur. 36. We all get tired, but one client fell fast asleep in the chair and kept violently jerking his head awake every time the clippers buzzed near his ear. When the barber accidentally nicked him during one of these sudden spasms, the guy went ballistic. He demanded free service for the injury. The barber told him that if he wanted to sleep, he should have booked a hotel room, not a haircut. You cannot turn your head into a moving target and then get mad when you get hit. 37. A mother brought in her toddler with a bowl cut that looked like it was done with a rusty lawnmower. She admitted she tried to save money by doing it herself, but messed up the bangs. She asked the stylist to fix it, but refused to pay full price because most of the hair was already gone. The stylist had to explain that fixing a bad haircut is actually twice as hard as doing a fresh one. You do not get a discount for making the professional's job a total nightmare. 38. Blind spots are common for parents, but one mom was practically blindfolded. Her child was spinning in the barber chairs, throwing combs, and screaming at the top of his lungs. When the barber politely asked the kid to sit down so he would not get hurt by the equipment, the mom filed a discrimination complaint. She claimed the shop was anti-family and suppressing her child's free spirit. Ma'am, your child is not a free spirit. He is a liability with a sugar rush. 39. A customer wrote a long email complaining that the salon smelled like chemicals. She was sitting next to a woman getting a perm and another getting highlights. She argued that a holistic business should not smell like ammonia. The owner had to remind her that she walked into a place that literally sells chemical reactions for a living. It is like walking into a fish market and complaining that it smells like the ocean. What did you expect a room full of hair dye to smell like? Roses and sunshine. 40. A guy got a fantastic haircut, but when the barber spun the iPad around for payment, the guy got furious at the tip options. He started a loud rant about how tipping culture is out of control and accused the barber of begging. He made such a scene that other customers started offering to pay his tip just to get him to leave. If you do not want a tip, just hit the no tip button and move on with your life. Why do people feel the need to turn a simple transaction into a political manifesto? 41. Red dye is notorious for fading quickly. It is just a fact of chemistry. However, one client came back 4 weeks after her appointment furious that her vibrant fire engine red had turned into a soft copper. She claimed the stylist used expired paint and demanded a full refund. She eventually admitted she washes her hair every single day with scorching hot water and cheap drugstore shampoo. You cannot scrub your hair like a dirty dish and expect the color to stay magical. 42. Trying to pay bills with exposure is a classic influencer move, but one guy took it way too far. He got a $100 haircut and a hot towel shave, then tried to walk out by simply pointing a camera at the barber and saying, "Shout out to my boy." When the barber asked for the credit card, the guy got offended and said his 300 followers were worth way more than cash. Unless your followers can Venmo the landlord, put the card in the reader. 43. Getting a shampoo is usually relaxing, but one woman acted like she was being waterboarded. She filed a formal complaint claiming a single drop of water entered her ear canal, throwing off her equilibrium for days. She actually demanded the salon pay for a visit to a specialist doctor because she felt dizzy. If you are that fragile around water, do you shower wearing a hazmat suit? How do these people survive a rainstorm without suing the sky? 44. There is a huge misconception that the price depends on the weight of hair hitting the floor. One lady screamed at the register because she was charged full price for a dusting of her split ends. She argued that since the stylist only cut 1/4 of an inch, she should pay 1/4 of the price. The stylist spent 45 minutes carefully sectioning and detailing her hair. You are paying for the time and the skill, not buying hair removal by the pound. 45. Bringing in visual references is usually helpful, until a guy showed up with a mugshot of a criminal he saw on the news. He legitimately wanted the "just got arrested after a 3-day bender" look. The barber did his best to replicate the messy, disheveled style, but the guy complained it looked too clean. He actually wanted the barber to put grease or dirt in it to match the mugshot perfectly. Some requests are just beyond the scope of a cosmetology license. 46. A man was outraged that he had to pay a cancellation fee. He called 5 minutes after his appointment time to say he was not coming because it was raining. Not a hurricane, just a standard light rain. He claimed it was an act of God and he should not be penalized for nature. By that logic, can I stop paying my rent just because it is cloudy outside? It is wild what excuses people will use to save $20. Next time, maybe bring an umbrella instead of a lawsuit. 47. A woman sat in the chair and said the most dangerous words in the industry. "I do not care, just do whatever you think looks good." The stylist gave her a trendy, flattering bob. The woman stared in the mirror in horror and said, "I hate short hair." She then filed a complaint saying the stylist should have known she only wanted a trim. Why tell someone they have creative freedom if you are going to mentally arrest them for using it? It is a trap every single time. 48. Silence is golden for some, but one client demanded total sensory deprivation. He was not on a call, he just hated the radio. He made the barber turn off the background music, creating an incredibly awkward atmosphere where the only sound was heavy breathing and snip, snip, snip. Afterward, he complained that the barber breathed too loudly during the cut. If you need a sensory deprivation tank, go to a spa, not a busy barbershop on a Saturday. 49. Expectations can be dangerous, especially during a breakup. A guy brought in a picture of his ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend and told the barber to give him that exact cut, but to make it look better than him. The barber nailed the haircut, making it look exactly like the photo. The guy stared in the mirror, got depressed that he still looked like himself, and refused to tip. He essentially tried to use a haircut to win a breakup and blamed the barber when it did not magically heal his broken heart. Do you really think a fade can fix your love life? 50. DIY solutions rarely end well. One genius used a permanent black marker on his scalp to cover a bald spot before coming in. He thought it would help guide the barber on where to leave the hair longer. The ink obviously did not wash out with shampoo, and he looked like a cartoon character. He then blamed the barber for not having a special marker removal soap. Imagine walking around with Sharpie on your head and thinking it is someone else's fault. 51. A client screamed at a stylist for doing nothing after a maintenance trim. She paid to have her dead ends removed, but explicitly told the stylist not to take any length off because she was growing it out. The stylist performed microsurgery, dusting off the split ends perfectly without shortening the hair. The client refused to pay because she did not look different. She wanted the physical change of a haircut without actually losing any hair. It is like paying a cleaner to scrub your house and then getting mad that they did not rearrange all your furniture. 52. One guy got a fresh fade, took selfies in the chair, and posted them on Instagram with the caption, "Fresh cut, feeling good." 3 days later, he emailed the shop owner demanding a full refund because the cut was uneven and terrible. The owner simply replied with a screenshot of the guy's own Instagram post praising the haircut. The audacity to try to scam a small business while publicly bragging about their work to your friends is honestly impressive in the worst way possible. Did he really think the internet does not exist? 53. A woman wrote a 1-star review claiming the salon's mirrors were fattening. She insisted that she looked thinner in her bathroom at home and that the salon had intentionally installed carnival mirrors to make clients feel bad so they would buy more beauty products. The owner had to politely explain that they buy standard mirrors from a supply store and that lighting angles are not a conspiracy against her self-esteem. Imagine being so insecure that you blame a piece of glass for how you look. 54. We all know the struggle of inches, but one woman took it to court. She asked for 2 inches off, and the stylist cut exactly 2 inches. The woman went ballistic, claiming that in the beauty world, 2 inches actually means half an inch. She argued that hairdressers have a different metric system than the rest of the world. She refused to pay because the stylist used a ruler instead of vibes. Next time, maybe bring your own ruler if you are going to invent new measurements. 55. A woman brought in a picture of her own daughter from 20 years ago and asked for that specific hair color. The stylist matched the tone perfectly. The woman hated it and cried, saying it made her look old and washed out. She finally admitted she did not just want the color, she subconsciously wanted to look 20 years younger. She blamed the stylist for not including a time machine with the highlight service. Hair dye can cover gray, but It unfortunately cannot reverse the aging process. That wraps up our list of 55 salon nightmares. It is honestly terrifying how many people walk around thinking hairdressers are magicians with scissors. Now, I have a question for you. How often do you actually go to the barber or salon? Do you go every 2 weeks like clockwork, or do you wait 6 months until you look like a caveman? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this madness, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I will see you in the next one.